Dinking around with Eddie and Webby. Dinking around with Eddie and Webby tonight.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. We are dinking around. What's going on, my friend?
How are you, man? It's been a long time since we've done a dinking around. So long that I forgot how to do everything. So hopefully the production goes well tonight. But
yeah,
how are you,
we'll see
buddy?
how it goes.
Let's touch the tips.
I'm doing really good.
Here we go.
I don't even, man. That's how rusty I am. But yeah,
hey.
it's been a couple months, and I feel like the last few episodes, it's been the first time in a long time. So hopefully we can start doing these more frequently in the very near future.
It is fun though. I'm excited to spend some time with you, spend some time with our guest tonight. And guys, just so you know, we are live. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitch. And this is Dinking Around with Eddie and Webby. It's a little bit different than the podcast because, as you know, the podcast is over. We're done with it. We're never doing it again. It's done. But this is Dinking Around, and it's a little bit different. Webby, how is this different?
Yeah, it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more relaxed. It's much less planned out. It's pretty much just come together, talk about whatever's on our mind, and have a grand old time.
That's right. But I'm excited because it's not just going to be us two tonight. There's actually going to be somebody else joining us. And Webby, do you think we should bring her on? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we should stop wasting time and just get right to it. Today's guest is a very talented individual known for sports broadcasting, acting, public speaking, and many other impressive lines of work. But most importantly, she can frequently be seen doing commentary at some of the top pro pickleball events across the country. Please welcome to the show, Michelle McMahon. How's it going, Michelle?
Hey, guys. Good. How are you? Thanks for the kind introduction. Hopefully I can live up to the standards here. But you guys set a high bar.
No, this is great. Thank you very much for joining us. Oh, who do we got there?
It's Maverick. He's joining us. He's sleeping, but he's resting on my. He's a 75-pound lap dog. If you're wondering what this creature is in the lower region, it's a dog.
He's a good boy. We got to meet him at Beer City Open. He was passed out at your feet in the commentary booth. It was pretty cute.
I love it. I want to find a job where I can bring my dog to every single work event. And it sounds like pickleball might be that.
I agree. Quit all your other jobs, just do pickleball full time. I'm sure you'll make even more money by doing that because there's so much. Yeah. Anyway,
might have to. Fastest growing sport in America.
That's right.
Nice. I can't wait to get the recap video out there for the Beer City Open because I have a great shot of you doing commentary and then Maverick is just laying there passed out underneath you.
Yes. I can't wait to see that too. Oh.
But yeah, that was awesome. So the Beer City Open, we were all there together. It was my first time finally meeting you in person after seeing you do so many great live streams and the commentary for a bunch of different pro pickleball events. Let's just jump right into it. How did you first get into pickleball, and then how did that lead into you getting into doing like the live commentary?
Yeah, great question. I first was exposed to pickleball in high school. Our gym teacher is like an absolute tennis legend in the state of Michigan. Webby, you might know of him. Dave Sukup. He wins state championship after state championship at Forest Hills Northern. Best coach I've ever had. Side note. But anyways, we used to play with the wooden paddles on a gym floor, and I was like obsessed with a sport called pickleball. But like at the time, it wasn't that big. Nobody else was playing it, so I only played in gym class, advanced lifetime activities. I would be like full like headband and sweaty like face mode. Would have to go there like straight to my other class. I mean, like I was an absolute competitor. And then, funny enough, so it kind of went away for a while. So after 4 years of it in gym class, I just kind of had to just part ways with the sport, and then it circled back to me. So I feel like pickleball finds you. If you don't find pickleball, it will find you.
Right.
And my parents got a home in Naples, and in the community they had pickleball courts. And my mom knew that I loved it from gym class, and she's like, "You're never going to believe this. They have pickleball courts." And I was like, "What? Pickleball courts?" Like, and she was like, "Yeah, it's like a big thing in Naples. It's like a big like sport here." So I was like, yes, sign me up. So then I got back into it back in like, I think 2019 initially. And it was super fun. Loved it. And then the commentating aspect of it kind of just again, like aligned this past, well, I guess now a year and a half ago, but on the tail end of COVID, well, during COVID, I pretty much lost all my work, as any freelancer in the sports industry would understand. It was like the world stopped, sports stopped. I didn't know what was coming back or what would be, of sports broadcasting beyond that point, especially sideline reporting. When you're interacting with people, I was like, is this profession going to go away? Like, am I going to be out of work?
Right.
So long story short, pickleball was like the only thing I could do during COVID, like activity wise, but also like I started to notice, just listening to the broadcasts and stuff, I was like, I feel like there's a need here maybe for broadcast, for like, something I have a lot of experience in. So I'm like, maybe I could help them with like the production and the broadcasting side of things. So I just kind of like planted that seed in my head, and I was like, I got to figure out who the right people are to talk to just say like, hey, if you ever need somebody, I'm available. I need work, and I can help you with the broadcast side of things. So, stars kind of aligned, and it became my first job out of COVID. Like after all my work was canceled, it was like, it just brought so many friendships and amazing experiences to my life, including work, including mental health and emotional health when we were all going through a really hard time. So, it's a special sport for me. It means a lot. And that's kind of how it, configured from a broadcasting standpoint, met with the right people, and opportunity arose. And they were like, and for me too, because play-by-play is still relatively new. I've been around it a lot. I've obviously been a part of a lot of broadcasts as an analyst for volleyball with Big Ten Network. I've done a lot of sideline work. So I've always sat in the other seat. So I definitely know the template of the broadcasts and how it's supposed to sound, but I'm newer to the play-by-play seat, which has been really fun too, because that's a new challenge for me, to push myself into, what they say is the next step in broadcasting. And so it's been a fun little project and challenge. And also it doesn't feel like work. Like when I go to these events, it's like you're hanging out with friends. You get to talk about pickleball. It's like still one of the young and up and coming sports. So there's not as much pressure as there is on like a sideline football game, but it's like, I don't know. I take a lot of pride in my work, so I always try to put my best foot forward. And now I'm doing pickleball pretty regularly in the summer, which is great.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. And I can tell you for sure, like you have been a very welcome addition to the broadcasting side of pickleball. I mean, I feel like you bring like another level of professionalism that was kind of lacking. I mean, we've got some great commentators, but you can just tell the people that have been doing it for a while, you bring something different and a whole nother level of professionalism. Would you agree, Eddie?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, one of the things I love about pickleball is that I feel like to get broadcasting out there, to run tournaments, to do all these activities, people just figured it out, right? We rarely had people that had a background in the actual job that they were doing to help promote the sport. Like Webby and I, we didn't have any experience in live broadcasting. I mean, Webby had a little bit, like video experience, but we kind of just figured it out, right? And now we're starting to see some of the professionals come in who are helping us to go in and really like kind of fine tune things. And I feel like that's what you've been able to do, is really help kind of push the envelope a little bit and kind of help. Are there anything specific that you noticed when you came in that you were like, oh man, we could really do this on the broadcast side of things? And then we're able to kind of help implement that? Or was there anything specific like that?
Yeah. And thank you. Thank you both for the kind words. I appreciate it. Still always a lot of room for growth. So I don't feel like by any means I'm like, the person or whatever, but I really appreciate that. And, I've been doing it for 10 years, so I'm glad that some of my work has paid off, at least in my career. But, as far as what I noticed in the broadcasts coming into it, I think one of the things that jumped out to me initially, and this is not to knock on anyone by any means, and also I love that it's like an opportunity to do broadcasting differently, because who's to say that the way broadcast has been for me the last 10 years is like the way. But I think structure and organization to me have been like the two big things that I try to bring to the table whenever it comes to like what we're talking about, or like the opens. And then the other big thing for me, especially because I'm more used to the sideline and the color role. So somebody could probably, I actually sent to my NHL play-by-play guy, I said, like, rip my broadcast apart, tell me what I need to do better, give me the X's and O's, because I can do that for, color and sideline, because I've been in those positions so many more times. So anyways, Sideline, the biggest thing for me, the most cringe things to listen to from a broadcast perspective is when you start questions with a statement like "tell me about" or fluffy stuff. Like it's good to be like fun and personality driven for sure, and you want to keep your personality, but like if you breeze over the most important part of the game, like for example, it's in, it goes beyond 11 and somebody just hit this crazy like ATP and then like somebody just defend, you gotta like, you have to be able to isolate the most important moments of the game to like bring the broadcast to life. So those are, I would say I really don't like when there's no question, when it's just like, yeah, that was a great play. And you're like, where are they supposed to go with that? And like, and then that's just anything. That's like if I was watching any broadcast, and then just like asking the right questions. And I think that's what separates, and I study this all the time too, when you're watching NFL or NBA, like the best broadcasters ask the right questions and talk about the right topics of conversation. And then from an analyst standpoint, one thing I really learned from Big Ten Network is like, you're the why. The play-by-play is the what. They're setting up the play. They're setting up the context. They're outlining the picture. And then the color is there to color in the picture. So to me, it's like, okay, you can point out what's happening on the screen, but that's like for the color analyst, it's, okay, now explain, like make this a teachable moment. Can you see in that play that somebody at home, whether they're a new beginner or up to a really high level, that they might not be able to see because they're either not at the event or because they don't have your level of knowledge. So that's something that I really tried to drive home with people that I work with, of just like, I try to push them deeper of like, okay, well, explain why, like what went into the decision making? Like, how can you make this a teachable moment? Don't just talk to talk. Like that's another, like I try to stay out of the way as much as possible. And that's like, because it's tempting, because you're just like, at first, I think that was something that I got feedback on, was like maybe like cut a little bit more out. And I think I was even relatively quieter than other broadcasts that I've heard. So I'm like, I try to stay out of the way of the point. But there's still like, there's a time and a place. So it's give and take. So don't just talk to talk. Like even for the analysts, like there's sometimes in volleyball where I'm familiar with the analyst role, where if I don't have anything valuable to contribute, it's better for me not to talk than to just say something to say something. I feel like it's having value with everything that you're saying is important from an analyst perspective. And then sideline perspective, get a pointed question across, as few words as possible. Do not make it about you. Nobody cares. Nobody wants, like, that's like that's like one thing that like I just from like like what I know, what my bosses would say at the networks that I've worked for, if I ever like turned anything and made it personal to me, they'd be like, you're fired.
Yeah, right.
Nobody cares who you are.
No.
It's not about you. It's about the pros you're covering. So that's like another piece of feedback that I've really, taken to heart. And I always try to make it about the people I'm covering, not at all about the, personal relationships on the broadcast team kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it 100% makes sense. And I'm so glad you said that, because that's the biggest cringe for me. I find that personally for me, the commentators that I enjoy the most, they know their role. And I hate to say that as in like stay in your lane, but they understand their role. They understand the value that they're bringing. If they're teamed up with somebody who's going to provide color or more analytics, they're asking probing questions to them. And you do this with Dom a lot, which I really appreciate. You'll set him up. You'll lob him a softball for him to hit out of the park with digging deep into, well, why did that play happen? Or how did this happen? And you do it in such a delicate way that it's almost like we don't even know what's happening. And then the other part too that I just love what you said was, it's not about you. It's my favorite commentators are the one that also ride this line. And I also like this with like TV hosts and stuff like that, where they ride this line between you want to be super engaging and then almost forgettable. It's almost like I want to be in your face and then invisible, and make it to where you're keeping all the attention on what's going on, but you're doing it in such a delicate way where I don't know. It's almost like invisible is not the right term, but does that kind of make sense what I'm saying there? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because you want to be relatable, right? Like you want to put your own like touch on it if you see, like NFL, who are your favorite commentators? You can pull it off the top of your head. And why? It's because they put their own stamp on things, but it's not because they make the broadcast about them, so to speak. So I definitely get it, and that it definitely makes sense. And it's like part of what makes you work together well as a broadcast team is like part of my role is I'm not the analyst. I'm not here to break down what is happening in the play. I'm here to make Dom look good in that role. So how can I ask the right questions at the right time to make him look good, or explain the game in a way that the viewer will be like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I want the viewer. It's about the people that are playing on the court, number one, and then how much value can you give back to the audience that's watching. And so I feel like anything that you're contributing, whether it's just teeing up a play or a question or anything, it should be hitting on those two things, especially. So thank you. That's why I try to do that as best I can. It's not perfect. I'm certainly human, so can't make everybody happy. I know there's trolls out there everywhere, but hey, you know what? It's fun, and as long as I'm having fun, that's all that matters.
Well, Webby, I'm sure you can agree with this, but anybody that can make Dom look good, you got your work cut out for you. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you can do that, I mean, you've made it. I mean, you are great at your craft. No, we love Dom.
Dom's good. Dom's good people.
Yeah. I'll send him a message right now.
Yeah. What? No,
but I seriously, I feel like this episode could be used almost like as training material, like what Michelle was talking about. Like anybody out there, if you want to do commentary, listen to what Michelle said just a little bit ago, and like that was spot on. I could not agree with what you said more about like the best way to do the commentary and stuff like that, and that definitely shows like the high level of professionalism, like because it's definitely, there's an art to it. It's not easy, because Eddie and I have both done commentary before, and it is not easy. I don't envy anybody that does it. I mean, I really enjoy doing it. I definitely don't feel like I'm good at it, but I do have a great time when I do it. I was fortunate enough to be asked to do commentary for the Pickleball night in America that recently happened in Grand Rapids, and that was a blast. But not gonna lie, I was very nervous beforehand, and there's times where I feel like I don't belong there. Like when all this great action is happening, it's tough to know what to say at the right time.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. It's a high pressure job, like especially as it gets more serious to like the TV ranks or whatever, like being on CBS Sports on Sunday for Major League Pickleball. I'm like, and I take a lot of like the responsibility, I guess, of like, okay, I know not everyone here has the TV experience. They all have done pickleball broadcasting for a while, but like, how can I set this up as best I can from like knowing what it's like in the TV world? So it's kind of like merging those two worlds together. For Cameron Blackwood, I was putting her on a fast track of sideline reporting, and she's so fun to coach, because she's obviously a pro player herself, but also like wants to learn and get better. And so I after every broadcast, I'm like, okay, tell me if I'm giving you too much feedback, but I'm like, you have so much potential and you're so good for being so new at this. Like, I want to help you in every way, shape, or form. So I was just everything, like, stop nodding your head when they're talking to you, ask what question, ask how, what, who, anything. And she took it like a champ. She did amazing at the because I was like, my goal with us together this weekend is to have a like TV ready product by Sunday. So like, let's get as many reps in, and half of it is about reps. It's the same thing like as playing pickleball. You're not going to get better by not doing it. So it's like, get somebody that's honest and will tell you the truth about your broadcast, because that's how you get better. Get a coach, somebody that's going to, be honest with you. Like, I want somebody that's going to like look at my broadcast and be like, you can do this better, this better, this better. Like, I don't want somebody that's going to like, in that position, right? Somebody that you trust and respect and that has like, has experience in that department. But anyways, that was a side tangent. All to say, I'm so happy. She was so fun to coach. And I'm like, yes, like, I wish I had somebody like that was giving me like 10 years of knowledge of like, this is the right way to do it. This will piss an executive off. Don't ask this. Do this. Don't do this. Anyways, so it's just fun. It's kind of fun because I feel like I'm like teaching as I'm like going, but I'm also learning because I'm in a new role. But like the roles that I know about, I feel like I can leverage my experience and also help in that way too. So,
what's the biggest? I don't want to say screw up or flub or have like what like looking back in your career, because it's had to have happened, right? What do you think?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like, what's like, is there something like the most embarrassing, the worst, the most you pissed somebody off? Like, what happened?
I'm trying to think. I can't believe I don't have. I know it's happened for sure.
Sure.
Oh.
Here we
I
go.
said I do.
Anytime anybody starts off with that, you know it's gonna be good.
I was like, I know
right.
there's something. I'm like, I think I psychologically repressed it, so my brain forgot about it. I'm not going to reference the network because I want to look back and check it out. But I accidentally said gaping ass on air. I meant to say gaping absence. Like it was clear that this player's absence was like, these are words I would never say in real life. So it's like that. Why do I reach for the impossible when I'm on air? I don't know. Somebody I should write a book about that because that happens often. But I literally was, and the person I was working with just we didn't know what to say. We both like we froze and like made eye contact, and we're like, I was like, and he was like, and he was just like breathed for like 10 seconds. I'm like, say something, save me from this. Oh my God. Yeah, it was so bad. That was one of my words. Luckily, like nobody called me out for it though. So I don't know. I don't know if like it was a later game, like maybe people weren't paying attention. I don't know. Or like my angels protected me from it. I don't know what it was, but
that's hilarious.
It was so funny. And I called my mom afterwards and I was like, I just said gaping ass on national television.
I feel like it's a goal of mine now to find this clip. I'm going to scour all of your broadcasts ever until I find it.
All right. If anybody out there can send us that clip while we're live, we'll give you like a free
I don't think it's living anywhere because nobody caught it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
That's amazing.
We got to find that.
It's so
like
good.
Gaping absence. What? Like what? That wouldn't even been a good. That wouldn't have even been a thoughtful response. Even if.
Like, what was the context that you would use that?
Oh, gaping loss. I don't know. Gaping.
Oh,
vast void. I don't know.
That's so
yeah,
good.
Here I am giving out all this unsolicited broadcast advice, and I'm over at the other side, like saying gaping ass on air. I'm like, I just don't want to happen. I don't want you to have to go through what I went through.
Thank you, because I definitely
I want you to have to go out and say gaping ass on air and try to forgive yourself afterwards.
Like, how do you recover from that? Like, I would be doing what I'm doing now, like cracking up like a 10-year-old boy in the corner.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, I was more worried about getting fired than anything else. So I was like, I just said yes. And also, like, that is a moment that honestly, like, 3 to 5 years ago probably would have destroyed me and like my self-confidence of like, oh my God, what did I do? I've reached a point of like, I don't know, whether it's confidence or just like, life just happens, so you like lose everything and build yourself back up, and you're like, you're like, if it goes away, it goes away. So I think it's a combination of that, like, and getting more comfortable in my own skin to be like, I'm a human, I messed up. But as far as like in the moment getting past it, like I had to hit the cough button for like a solid minute because I play actually was more like rattled by it than me. He was like at the break was like. And then the producer afterwards, this is the best part. After the broadcast, I was hoping that maybe nobody else heard it, that it just like slipped out and that we just all like continued on. The producer came out afterwards and he's like, did you say gaping ass on air? I was like, yeah, I think those words came out of my mouth. So sorry. He's like, we lost it in the truck. I was like, as we expected, thank you. You're welcome for your entertainment this evening. So yeah, there's I don't know. You just keep rolling with it. You're like, gaping ass and what else?
Yeah, right.
You just yes and. You've done improv before. You just keep yes anding it. You just keep building off of the one mistake and then you circle back to it. He still texts me to this day, my broadcast partner, and he's like, so, you said gaping ass lately? I should probably stop repeating myself. This is a PG audience.
Oh no, you're good. You're all good. Don't even worry about it.
Okay. Sorry, kids.
Webby, have you ever flubbed up when, like, I can't remember a time when we were live in the air on a podcast or even when we commentated together, anything embarrassing like that, dude? Do you
Not
know of anything?
not that I can think of, like during commentary during this show. I've embarrassed myself numerous times because I drank too much, but other than that, nothing I can think of off the top of my head. Luckily,
Okay, interesting. So
Yeah.
Michelle, like, what when you were a kid, were you
Mhm.
watching sports and thinking to yourself like, "Oh, I really want to do that," or like, how did this whole career path kind of come about for you?
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's a great question. Yes, I've always been a tomboy. I really wanted to be a professional volleyball player when I was old. I really like bless my heart at 5'4", thought I could make it to the Olympics one day. Honestly, maybe I could have if I was like gifted enough, but those girls are just next level. So that was like my dream. I played soccer since I was like 4 years old. I played actually tennis in high school. My gym teacher, legendary coach Suga, via pickleball and my badminton abilities, was like, "You need to be on my tennis team." And I was like, "That's funny. I suck at tennis. I have never touched a racket. You do not want me on your tennis team. Promise. Like, let's save each other time. You don't want me." And then he was like, "If you work with me for a whole summer, I will train you into a state champion." And I was like, "Okay, like, deal, you're on." So anyways, long story short, he trained me into a tennis player. After I started my freshman year, I made JV my sophomore year, and then I was on varsity the next two, and we won state 2 years in a row. So he was serious. And then volleyball was what I played basketball too, but I fouled out every game. So lame. I was like, isn't the point to get the basketball? Like, why are we getting called for reach fouls? I don't get it. I still feel like they call the women's game way too hard. Like too like, I don't know.
It's like
Not
strict.
harshly, but like, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, isn't this a contact sport? I don't know. I'd watch the same game with the guys, and they're not getting called for the same stuff. And my mom was so embarrassed every basketball game. She's like, that's my daughter. Anyway, so that was a short-lived career. But then volleyball, I played volleyball at Michigan for 4 years. I was a walk-on there, so that was the sport that ended up taking me the furthest. And so I grew up watching sport. I loved watching football with my dad. I loved watching hockey with my dad, which is part of my career now. And then playing it, I just like love. It's so fun, and I think it's like, especially for women, it's such a good way to build self-confidence in another way. In just another way, and it just gives so much back to your life in a good way. Like, you definitely, I don't know, Michigan volleyball really pushed me in all the ways, mentally, emotionally, physically, more ways than I've ever been stretched before in my adult life. I'm like, honestly, I've never had a job that's harder than that experience. So that's another way where you just make a mistake and you just get through it and you just roll with it. Cause I don't know, that experience really tested me. But then as far as broadcasting goes, I didn't know what I wanted to do in college. My biggest regret actually is not majoring in psychology. I majored in communications. I just love psychology. I love mental health. I love how the brain works. I love like wellness and that stuff. So that's one thing. If I could give anyone advice, do what makes you passionate, even if it doesn't make sense to everyone else. Somebody scared me away from it because they're like, you can't make money doing psychology degree. And I was like, oh. They're like, you're never going to get a job with that. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll do communications. How the hell am I going to get a job with that either? But whatever. Nothing I'm doing has anything to do with my degree. I wish I just would have followed what I enjoyed doing anyways, because it always leads you somewhere. But then I minored in Spanish randomly. And then giving you my whole resume. And then, so broadcasting. Okay. Yeah. So then one of my old volleyball teammates was doing broadcasting for Big Ten Network for one of our volleyball matches senior year. It was just when like Big Ten Network was starting to showcase all the others. I think Big Ten Network was just coming to be, and they were showcasing women's sports as well as football and basketball and all the other things. And I was like, saw my old teammate doing this color analyst role. And I'm like, wait a second, that's a job. Like, you can talk about sports for a living and like get paid for it. Like, I'll do that. Like, that sounds good. So took a shot in the dark and had zero experience. I had a internship, like a summer internship of experience, nothing else beyond that. And then with Big Ten Network, I just kind of reached out to the networking. This is like, I'll give myself credit. I was always like blindly confident, even when I didn't really have like the right to be necessarily. So I like reached out to the right people at Big Ten Network and I was like, hey, I'm here. I'm like fresh new out of college. I want to do broadcasting. I would love to start as a volleyball analyst or just like cut my teeth or I don't know. they had an opening, they had filled it, so they basically told me no, and I was like, well, shoot. I don't want to go to like the news market in the middle of nowhere. So I was like, I really want to live in Chicago. So I'm like, well, I called him. So he said no. I hung up, and I'm like, I started to cry. I was like, that's so sad. Like my dream, my broadcast dream is slipping away. And then I called him back, and I was like, listen, could I just come in for an audition? Because if I suck at this, like, let's save each other time. Like I won't pursue an empty dream. Like if I have potential, and if you think I could like maybe work into that role one day, like maybe you could tell me. I was on family vacation. I drove 5 hours down to do this audition and then drove 5 hours back in the same day. Ended up getting a very small role with Big Ten Network as on the Women's Sports Report, which was like not enough money to live in Chicago for like a very small season worth of volleyball. But I was like, amazing. I got my first break. Like I'm doing it. And then I was like quickly realized like I had to do something else to make money. So I did actually, my first job was selling freight to truck drivers. At a Coyote Logistics, and then I switched to medical device sales because they weren't quite flexible with my all of these jobs. I was like, I just want to do broadcasting, but like, how do I make them both work together? So it was kind of like funding my passion at that point, but I didn't really know if I could make it in broadcasting. So I was like, also like maybe medical device sales will steal me away. And I was like, went to a hospital, and I was like, nope, definitely not. So, and then to them, I was like, I was managing the entire Midwest territory, selling like a neurological device, which I still believe in, by the way. Like my story is so random. I'm like cold calling on neurosurgeons, like knocking down doors. I'm like, hey, I know you've been in school longer than I've been alive, but listen up. I have a tool for you, and I think your nurses are going to like it. And then they were like not as flexible with the broadcasting thing. So everything kind of kept hitting like a fork. Like this is another life lesson of like, taking a leap of faith type of thing. So that job, they were like, you need to either quit broadcasting or do this because we're not going to like appease to your broadcast schedule. And I was like, well, that sucks. Mom, Dad, I'm quitting my stable, very lucrative sales job to take a leap of faith to do broadcasting. And I don't really know how this is going to work out. I only have volleyball to my resume right now, but like, I'm going to figure it out. So I picked up a bunch of other jobs. I was selling clothes at Athleta. I was a Pure Barre instructor. I was about to be a bartender. This is the other thing. People don't realize the grind behind it. Like my life looks pretty glamorous now, but like it was a grind to get to this point. And like, also I'm like, so if somebody gives me a hard time about like, oh, I don't know, there's a lot of jealousy running around in this industry. I'm like, you know what? This is possible for you too. And I've also like worked my ass off to get to this point. So I'm going to take the break for once. And anyways, the challenges don't stop. They always continue. So yeah, that was like, I took the leap of faith. And then shortly after that, pitched a hockey show to Big Ten Network, got my hosting experience in. Then I got my first break with the Carolina Hurricanes down south. Then I got bumped to the national network within a year from that, which was kind of crazy. Didn't expect that to happen. So it was like, once it broke open, but it took a lot of like, I had to like jump and trust and have belief in myself that it was going to happen. And then was able to go back to Chicago in the capacity that I wanted. I worked for the Blackhawks. I got to cover a Stanley Cup. I got to do MLB Network. I mean, there's so many cool things. And I also got to do college football, which was like my dream at the beginning of all of this. And I got to do our game day show for Big Ten Network for many years, which was super fun. All the way to now where I'm like with the Dallas Stars in the fall, and I get to do pickleball freelance whenever it works in the schedule. And then we'll see where life takes me from here. But that's kind of the journey that it's been. I enjoyed early retirement before the Dallas Stars job came about. I thought I was done with broadcasting, and then pickleball resurrected that for me. And I was like, all right, I can still do this. And this is like a nicer community that I'm like, I don't feel as like bogged down by the job. So I'm like, okay. And then, yeah, so we'll see. The journey is ever unfolding. That was a very long answer. I'm so sorry.
Well, I think it's important, right? I mean, Webby, I've always been curious, like, how do you even get into that role? And so I felt like,
yeah,
you kind of nailed it. It sounds to me like it's one of those jobs that everyone has, few make it, and you have to kind of survive the grind to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that takes tenacity, grit, all of that.
Yeah. And it's a job that everyone like they want to. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, especially at the network level, that's not pretty, especially for women. It's challenging, but it takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of like, you have to like constantly ground yourself. Otherwise you'll get lost in the, lost in the whatever of things that aren't important. And really that's all that matters. So It is, yeah. It's I always try to tell girls that reach out to me like the honest truth about my journey, like the real things that happen and the real like stuff it takes to get there in terms of like the not fun stuff. But it's all, I still look at other jobs and I'm like, I could never do a 9 to 5 ever again. Ever.
Yeah.
I could never do that. Like that is, I don't know. I'd still rather talk sports for a living, at least for now.
We're grateful that you do.
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thank you.
And
It's so
I
fun.
feel like we've talked about this on the show before, but like a lot of people just don't really realize what goes into both live streaming and just doing broadcasting in general. I was fortunate enough to learn from a pretty young age because right after high school, I went to Specs Howard School of Broadcast Arts. So I got a little taste of the broadcasting world back then. And until you experience it in person, like people just do not realize what goes into a live broadcast. I mean, every little bit of it from the interns and the grips that are like cabling things, and then the camera operators, and then the people backstage like directing and like saying okay, this camera you point at that person, this camera point at that person, okay,
Right.
cut to this camera, cut to that camera, and then the people like there's so much that goes into a live broadcast, and every single person that's involved, they have to master their craft to make it all come together. Like everybody has to be spot on for it to go well. And when one thing goes wrong and ruins the production, like that's all people focus on. Like, oh, this is such a horrible production. Like, can't you just do this? Like, can't you just be perfect at what you're doing? But they don't realize how many moving parts are involved, and it's just crazy. But yeah, like I said before, like you getting involved in pickleball was a very welcome addition. I absolutely love it. And speaking of pickleball, like what would you say, like so far, what has been the most impressive pro pickleball event that you've been part of? Would you say?
Good question. Honestly, I've been really enjoying the Major League Pickleball on every side of it. Like just the starting in Austin last year and then doing it again this year. I would say Austin, MLP Austin this year. I thought the production team that they had that event was awesome, and I felt like it was like, okay, they're starting to reach like TV level in terms of what they're putting into the production. And to your point, like investing in the production side of things is so crucial. I mean, it makes such a big difference, especially for those of us who've done television. You can tell like when you're working with somebody that has been doing the roles, like whether it's from like everywhere from like audio to lighting to, I mean, there's so many things. There's so many things.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's also a job that everyone, the viewers watching, like everyone thinks they can do. I feel like the trolls in particular, like everyone thinks that they can do it. It's like, I would love to give everyone just a headset and a practice run for like one broadcast and be like, here, go ahead. Show us your stuff.
They would all shut up immediately if they tried doing one broadcast. They would go run crying probably.
Yes, exactly. I think Steve Kuhn and Brooks Wiley are doing an awesome job of revolutionizing the sport. I also love how this particular tournament style like takes down the barrier, like the gender barrier, the age barrier. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're seeing like Lee Whitwell play against Deckelbar in singles and whatever.
Demolishing Deckelbar in singles.
Yeah, it's like the first season of it is like so. What other sport do you see that? Like what other sport? And even just like the with the genders and stuff, like it's just fun like to play with guys. Like that's something like as an athlete myself, I'm like I always played sports with the guys to like get a higher level of play. Like it's soccer, like I always played with boys, and that like I like that. Like it's fun. So like mixed doubles adds such a fun element that it's like you don't see this in any other sport. It's inclusive. It's fun. I love the draft format. I love that the games are entertaining. The rally scoring I find interesting. And then the Dream Breaker, the single format. It's cool. I love the direction of it. I think there's also innovation that's only on the horizon here for MLP in the brains they have behind that operation. Like all the people working on it, it's like unbelievable. It's like a labor of love for a lot of these people, which is really cool. So that to me has been the most impressive and like where I see the future of pickleball heading with all the support that they have backing it. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I've been absolutely loving Major League Pickleball. It's so much fun from a spectator standpoint, and all the players that take part in it, they always consistently say the Major League Pickleball events are their favorite to compete in. So yeah, I've been absolutely loving it.
I think you see a
And
different side of
$100,000.
competition. Oh, I know. The money is good.
Yeah.
The coverage is good. And here's the thing, right? And I was talking about this with Simone on one of her live streams we did recently. It's just as competitive as your normal tournaments that you go to, but it feels like a different type of competition. Having the team rally with each other, I think it almost, I don't know what the right word is. Sometimes these pro matches can get kind of toxic. They can get kind of nasty because people are so competitive and they're putting everything into it, and it can get bad, especially because there's certain people that we know that don't like each other. With MLP, I don't know if it's the format, if it's the fact that you have a team, you're switching partners, you're playing with different partners, the chemistry's different, but I feel like it brings out all the really cool, fun, positive sides of intense competition without letting it get to the nasty side. I mean, I know there's been some controversies that have happened. This weekend is not excluded from that comment, but overall it feels different, and I think that also leads to a more televisable event. And one of the things I wanted to get into with Michelle is talking about some of the things that I think we could adapt from other sports to kind of change the pickleball live streaming broadcasting culture. And the first one being just how long and for how many days these streams go on. From a commentator, I honestly, and I'm not just saying this, I've done every role in a broadcast production with pickleball. Commentating, by far the most challenging. It requires the most focus, it requires the greatest effort, and it requires you to stay sharp. How do you do that for 10 hours a day? 3 days in a row, 4 days?
Great question. Honestly, the first 10-hour day I ever worked, I was like, oh my God. It's tough. It's really, really, really tough. So I guess the how for me is honestly, it's like taking care of myself. I don't drink on the weekends that I know I'm going to be working 10 hours a day. I like after my first 10-hour shift with MLP, I went and got a massage and reflexology.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm like a little weird in my wellness, but yeah, as far as staying engaged in the broadcast, it's like, it's tough, but like a lot of it's the work you do leading up to the show, right? Like I try to talk to as many players as I can. I try to get the full scoopies, especially with pickleball. That's another challenge of like with any other sport that I cover, you can Google somebody or like, you know, there's newspapers writing about them. They're more publicized to the public eye. So finding information on pickleball players sometimes can be challenging because a lot of them are just normal, not all of them, but a lot of them are just normal people that work everyday jobs that happen to be really good at this sport. So it's like you have to really track down the information and do the back end work on your own to connect with the players to get that stuff. But yeah, it's a lot. I would love to see it shift into I don't know what that looks like, and it sounds like you, Eddie, have more ideas on that front. Shift into more like, how do we pack it in to a shorter time frame and just get the best of the content? The one thing that comes to mind for me of how that structure could shift is for Turner, I once did the TBS, the National Championship for Women's Beach Volleyball. And what we did for that broadcast, we had a bunch of different courts going at the same time. And then the play-by-play in color would zero in on court 1. And then they'd switch, if they had a really good match going over on court 2, they'd switch over to court 2. And the vantage point they had was that they could see all the beach volleyball courts. So, and then we had reporters on different courts to kind of give us updates throughout. So I don't know if it's something like that. I don't know, but I too would love to see that structure change because I keep telling these guys, I'm like, like 4 hours is a long day for a normal broadcaster. Like 5 hours is like a lot of just like talking. Like you always have back end hours of like prep and stuff, but like to actually talk for 10 hours, my voice was so raspy. I'm still recovering, by the way. It's Wednesday. I flew back on Monday and I'm still like pretty wiped from the weekend, to be honest with you.
I can imagine. It's daunting. And so, all right. So but maybe it makes sense to lay the foundation. And I've been trying to spread this like the gospel. So what are the problems with the current structure? I think there's actually quite a few. Number one, pickleball is losing its specialness and its God, how do I put it? 2 years ago, if I knew a tournament was going to be on TV for the weekend, I was going to be so excited. I was like, yes, I'm going to pull YouTube up and I'm going to watch it. And it was exciting and it was special and everything. And now with all the multiple tours, what's that?
It's saturated. I think that's what you're looking for.
Yes, it's become saturated. And I think even from a sponsor perspective, okay, now you're starting to see the same commercials over and over and over again. You're seeing, especially on the PPA side, you're seeing on Championship Court, the same players over and over and over again. You're seeing the same over and over and over again for multiple hours, multiple days in a row. And so that's problem number one. Problem number two is when you have a crew of between the commentators and the people that are kind of running the tournament on the back end that are helping the broadcast team, and then everybody on the broadcast team, you have, let's say, 12 people on average at some of these events, right? When do you want them their sharpest? You want them sharpest at the end during the bronze and gold medal match, right? And sometimes World Pickleball Championship 2.5 years ago, that was hour 14 for us when those matches started. You can't do it. You're checked out. You're not ready. You're not prepared. You're not giving it your best. You're almost phoning it in at that point to be able to get through. So it's saturated. It's losing its how special it is. It's repetitive, and you're not setting up the team to be at their best when you want the most eyes on the sport, which is your medal matches. So, Webby, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I 100% agree. It's absolutely saturated. It's not as special as it used to be. This past weekend, we had 3 different competing pro tours at the exact same time, all weekend long. I still loved it. I actually had all 3 going on different tabs or different computers, different TV screens within my house, but I wasn't as excited as I used to be about it. And I agree. The fact that they are on for so long every single day, it does kind of take away from how special it used to be. And I know that you kind of have a suggestion on how you think it should be, and I would love for you to share that with us so everybody knows what you think is the solution or a possible solution.
That was a nice setup there, Webby. Thank you. So, and guys, chime in as I'm going through this because I tend to get a little ranty with this stuff. But basically, here's my thought, right? If it's a tournament, a multi-day tournament, Championship Sunday, 100%, right? Because now you're talking about five total matches total if you're going to include men's and women's singles, mixed doubles, men's doubles, and women's doubles, right? Cool. So you're talking about 5 gold medal matches in one day. That's doable. And that's also when I feel like you can double, triple down on the production, right? That's when you want the A team to be ready and prepared. Give it your all, because if these are the gold medal matches, it should be the best of the best. That's when you double down. The other days leading up to it, right? Maybe until you get to winners bracket final, it's just a camera up there. Maybe you have somebody switching between angles. Maybe you have somebody running a scoreboard. But at least if you're going to be there, throw a camera up and you're good. Okay, boom. Now it's time for winners bracket final and bronze medal match, or maybe even 4 or 5 matches, the last 4 or 5 for the day. Boom. That's when you have full-blown production. You have commentary, you have score, you have manned cameras, you have everybody in there. And then at least people, when they're about ready to do their job to bring the best broadcast possible, they're ready. They're prepared. And now all the eyes are on it. You can advertise it as, hey, it's going to be just one camera only up until approximately 4 p.m. Then at 4 p.m. we're going to switch over and it's going to be the full-blown broadcast. Michelle, what do you think about that?
I love that. I think that's a great idea. Now that you say that, when I first came into the sport and the broadcasting side of things, I'm like, why are we running matches that don't matter necessarily? Like, why they don't have any context unless they have the big names, so to speak. But yeah, I think that makes it, when you're playing for something, right? It's like, well, this is a playing match. It doesn't really mean much, so we're just going to talk. But yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I love that. And then you gear up for Sunday, which is And I like that too. You can get all the matches and you don't have to do it. Like they can tune in one day and get men's doubles, women's doubles, singles, mixed doubles, like everything that they would come for anyways. Right? Unless they're watching a certain player. I love it. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I really love that you said is you talked about like just set up like one camera for the matches like leading up to like the finals and stuff like that. Because there are diehards out there that do want to see all the matches and stuff. I feel like they're the minority, but I feel like there are enough out there that it'd be cool to have that, but you don't need the full production. Just have the good shot that shows like the one solo shot that shows the whole court. If you want to get crazy, add like maybe one other camera angle and cut between the two if you have enough people, enough crew members in the video production crew to do that. But I feel like even that's not necessary. Like if it's just that one solid, steady shot, maybe add the scoreboard if you have somebody that's available to run the scoreboard. That's really all you need until it comes to the winners bracket finals. And then, bring the A team, bring the multiple camera coverage, bring the announcers and the commentators. And they're, like you said, they're going to be fresh for those matches, for the ones that matter. I think that's the perfect solution. So everybody tuning out there, listen up, listen to Eddie. He knows what he's talking about. Do it.
I have one good idea a year, and that was it right there.
That is a good idea. How do we implement this? Who do we need to talk to?
Well, maybe we need to first start by talking to Ariel Butler, who's tuning in right now. And I couldn't get it on the screen there, Ariel. Sorry, but she says, "Hey friends, I want to wish Ariel a very belated birthday. I think it was yesterday, so happy birthday."
Happy birthday.
And also too, I really want to get this one on the screen. I totally blew it. Jeez, oh Pete's. Let me see if this works here. As I said, we haven't done this in a while, but this is from, here we go. George Aronis on YouTube says, "Please let her know I watch quite a bit of pickleball and she is absolutely amazing at her job. Great combo of spunk, fire, knowledge, and extremely intuitive. Truly wish her the best."
Thanks, George. That's so nice. I wish you the best too. That's so nice. I appreciate it. It's so fun.
Thanks for tuning in, George. I totally agree.
Karen Kitchens on Facebook said, "Very interesting in making."
Is that her real last name?
I was wondering that. I wonder if that's like if that's her pickleball name, but she had some doggies on her photo, so I had to throw it out there.
If that is her real name, I feel like she has no choice but to play pickleball. Because with the Kitchens, I mean, you just got to play pickleball. I was just gonna say,
if it's a real, she's got to start a podcast or something with that, or like,
right?
I don't know, clothing line. Karen Kitchens, come on,
right?
Okay.
Karen. And then there's Ariel Butler's comment saying, "Hey friends,
hey Ariel, happy birthday."
Gotta love AB.
Hey girl, hey.
She's
That's what
a
they say
Leo.
on the local radio stations I listen to.
Man, so. Who do we have to talk to? I don't know. That's a very good question. I think some of the tours should tune in. But honestly, do you want to know where I think it's going to start? I think it's going to start with the sponsors buying into this idea. Do you want your commercial played 14 times once an hour over 14 hours of a live stream? Or do you want it played twice when you have eyes on the TV that aren't going to tune out during commercial breaks? And we have paid for commercial space before, so I technically can consider us a sponsor of some tournaments. And I will say that I would rather 1 to 2 commercials on a championship Sunday when people are tuned in and the family's sitting around the TV and they're eating, they're drinking, they're having fun. That's when I would want my commercial to drop. Not 12 times on a Thursday watching a bunch of matches, like you said, that don't really matter.
Yeah. How do you think the players would feel about this?
Well, I've talked to some pros, and I know that the Championship Sunday format is tough, right? So imagine if you're Ben Johns, of course, you're going to be in potentially all 3 events that you're eligible for on Championship Sunday. Right. That's a grind. If you're playing like, let's say you're a Frank Anthony Davis, who typically shows up at the event really doubling down on his singles game and plays doubles here and there just because it's kind of fun. Well, typically singles is held at the beginning. Well, now when do you book your flight home? Do you book it home for Friday, knowing that if you make it to gold, you're going to have to change it to potentially Monday? I mean, I don't know that pickleball is at the point right now where the money is there to just be like, oh, I'll just tell my, the guy who flies my private jet for me to just wait for the weekend, right? Like we're not there to be able to handle it. So I don't know what they think about it. Have either one of you two talked to the pros to know how they feel about it?
No, I just anticipate that would be something that they would talk about. Maybe is like, well, I was going to fly back Sunday, but because of the championship, I have to now stay till Monday. But also, if that's what you do for a living, like, is it really that big of a deal? Also, and my point to them would be like, as the sport grows, as your brand grows, as the broadcast grows, it's all good for you and your personal brand. Like, wouldn't you want to be on a bigger stage in terms of people watching you? In a better broadcast setup. So that would be my counter argument of like, and also if you do it full time, like,
yeah,
I'd play pickleball full time if I could.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'll trade places.
That'd be amazing. All right. So Webby, you got to come up with how we get this figured out. I think that would be.
All right. I think the first step is to take a snippet of you pitching the idea, put it on TikTok, because that's what the kids are watching these days. I'll make an Instagram reel, a YouTube short. We'll get it all out there for the people with ADD that only like watching the short videos. We'll get it trending there, and then we'll have them give it a hashtag. And I think that's what the kids are doing these days: hashtags and short videos and TikToks.
Dude,
we'll
you totally
start
dated
there.
yourself there.
Yeah, I know.
What's this?
Go on the YouTubes.
Thing?
Go on the YouTubes.com and the Facebooks and the Instagram.
The YouTubes.com. It's not pulling up for me. I don't know. It's weird.
YouTubes.
The YouTubes. All right. Well, we're gonna make this happen. But one thing I was hoping to ask you, Michelle, actually, like totally awkward transition. You're probably over there cringing, like, no, this is how you're supposed to do it. But
no judgment here. I'll tell you.
So you were at Beer City Open. Anybody that knows Webby and I knows that it is our favorite tournament of the year. We've been to every one since the very beginning. We love it. We're huge fans of it. We're huge supporters of it. Yes, that's right. Yep. Here you go. Boom. Beer City Open. Eddie and Webby. Oh, yeah. Anyway, enough about us. Michelle, you were there. Tell us about your experience.
I loved it. It was so cool. Actually, it was a really full circle moment because I remember one of the earlier events and seeing, I think I saw Dom before I knew Dom doing the broadcast. And I'm like, oh my God, Mom, I want to broadcast pickleball one day. Like that would be cool. I should, whatever. And I'm like, I should go over there and introduce myself. I thought about doing it then, but it was years ago. And just, it's my hometown, those that don't know. So it was really cool. It was just cool to be able to be there. But actually a bunch of my parents' community members from Naples, all their like neighbors down in Florida came to like visit and stay with us to watch their friends in the Beer City Open. So I felt like it was like a very community driven moment for all of us. And just the level of competition, it's one player that really jumped out to me, Gabe Tardio, if we want to go that direction. That was another coming out party for him. He's so fun to watch. And Travis Rettenmeyer, another new player on the circuit that just like picked it up and was like, I'm going to just try pickleball. And like a couple months in, he's already pro. But anyways, just the ambiance and like really just seeing how far the facility has come. Like Belknap, that's like the place that I love to play pickleball. And it was really cool to be there with all the people that love the sport so much and then the pros, and then to see how they built out that facility and the stands that they had around championship court was so cool. The new pickleball courts that they put there, like, I don't know. It was like a full circle moment of like where I like to play pickleball, where I'm from, dreaming about covering pickleball prior to that, and then being able to do it. And then, just the level of play that we've gotten to, like the game just keeps getting better and better elevation wise because of the new talented players that are coming over and converting from tennis and making it even more exciting to watch, I think. And so, yeah, just all of it.
That's so cool.
Nice. That's awesome. And we've said it before, but like Eddie and Webby, we would not be who we are today if it wasn't for the Beer City Open. I mean, the very first one was the first tournament that we had ever done together, and that it literally changed our lives. That tournament changed our lives forever, and it caused us to just really get hooked on pickleball, get hooked on tournaments. It taught us about, like, we didn't know there was even such a thing as pro pickleball until that first Beer City Open. So, I mean, just everything about the first Beer City Open just really, really inflated and lit the fire under us for pickleball and being competitive in pickleball and everything about pickleball, really.
What's funny, Michelle, is
That's
we went back and we watched the original video, and back then they would do a pre-party at Parent Brewing Company, and we have videos and pictures of us, and all of the pros were at a table. Like, all the top pros were at a table literally behind us. We had no idea who they were at the time, and looking back on it, it's crazy to think that you had Andrea, Tyson, Kyle, all these people chilling right there. No clue. And then a year later, we're live streaming at that event, and that's actually how Dom got his whole start in pickleball commentary. We had set up our booth. We were working with other live streamers, and somehow we got connected with Dom and asked him, "Hey, do you want to come commentate with us?" And he sat down, and we ended up commentating together for quite a couple days, and that was actually the start of his commentating career, was at Belknap Park. So there's so many connections between people from Belknap Park and the Grand Rapids community, just that being their launch pad for pickleball careers.
So cool. I love that. Full circle.
Yeah, and the tournament directors from the Beer City Open, they caught wind of the vlog that we did, because we just did a fun, wacky vlog of our tournament weekend experience. It was a majority of us just getting hammered at different breweries in Grand Rapids, and then a little bit of us playing pickleball during the tournament and stuff like that. But they saw the vlog and they loved it, and they started sharing it, and then they actually contacted us. They sent us gold medals from that tournament, like, to thank us for the vlog video that we created. I mean, just the whole thing. It's just crazy how, like, the stars just aligned for so many in so many different areas, and it's just, I don't know, I love it. I just can't. It's just amazing. I love it.
Aw, that's so cool. I love that.
So when was the first time you played at Belknap Park? Did you play there a lot before this year's Beer City Open, or was this your first experience there?
No, I think I first discovered it playing, I want to say it was on the tail end of COVID, 2020, I think. Actually, 2020. Because I remember once I got hooked on it in Naples, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's got, like, where else are there? And then it started to, like, catch on. And then I was playing at Ada, which is not that competitive. And then I was, like, asking around the people, like, are there any other places people gather and play, like any 4-0, 4-5 players? And then they all told me Belknap. But they're people that, like, are fear Belknap, but it's like, it's a higher level than they want to play. And I was like, I'm up for the challenge. I'm just going to show up and play. That's one of the best parts about pickleball in my mind, is you show up, you play, you meet people. It's like, and then they become your friends. And then it's like a community of people that you would have never met in any other circumstance in life. And so, like, I just showed up one day, met a crew of people, older crew of gentlemen, Tom and Mark, and those guys are like my go-tos now. When I come to Grand Rapids, I text them and we're off. But yeah, no, it's been a couple years now, and it's cool too, because, like, I'm reuniting with my old friends from high school who played tennis, and I'm like, he's just getting into pickleball. So it's like, when I come home now, I have all these guy friends that play, that we get together. So it's just like the community that keeps on giving.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's nothing like it. We've talked about that numerous times too. There's nothing like pickleball and the pickleball communities, because, like you said, I've made so many new friends just by showing up randomly at a place to play pickleball where I didn't know anybody. They accepted me. We played. Maybe went out for drinks afterwards, and I've got legitimately over 100 new friends just because of pickleball. It's just it's wild.
So fun. I love it.
Yes. Great stuff. Michelle, it's been awesome having you on to talk.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
We always give everybody an opportunity to share, like, what's going on with you, what's next for you, how can people follow you, right? Like, what's anything you want to talk about? This is your moment.
It's my PR stint. It's my time. You can follow me on my Twitter and Instagram handles at Mish McMahon, at Mish _McMahon. McMahon looks like McMahon. It is McMahon, but I didn't make the rules. I'm like, what is the HO doing in there? It seems like a lot of extra letters for no purpose. Anyways, that and what else I'm working on. I might be doing another pickleball event here in September. I've got it might be a conflict with the Big Ten football schedule. I have, I think, a Big Ten football game this year, and then I'm doing some Major League Baseball next week. If you're in Texas, you can catch me on Valley Sports Southwest for the pre and post game show for the Rangers, who are not doing too hot right now, but hey, maybe they'll be on the up. And then come October, I'll be doing sideline again for the Dallas Stars for that season, and then back to the pickleball circuit come April. So, and I hope to mix in some pickleball there too. The PPA is now based in Dallas, so I have not yet dabbled with them. I'll have to make a phone call over with my friend Dave Fleming and see if they need any help. And then, yeah, hopefully, I hope to stay as involved as possible. Oh, I'll be at the MLP in October, I think, too, for
Columbus.
Major League Baseball. Yes, I think I can only come for the CBS broadcast, but that's okay for me. So because I have hockey a couple days before. So hopefully, if they'll have me, I'll be doing that too. So that's at least for the next year, and then we'll see what life has in store beyond that. So, yeah.
Well, on behalf of everybody out there that are pickleball fans, we're so happy that you made it into the world. I really do think, and I'm not just saying this because you're our guest and our friend, but I really do think that your influence in the sport has elevated everybody. They've seen what a true professional, let's just call you a sportscaster, right? Because it's more than just commentary. It's interviews, it's journalism, it's all of that combined into one. You've helped elevate a gaping ass. You've helped elevate.
You've helped gaping ass here.
You said it. You said
it. Full circle.
Yes, you. Oh no, you've helped elevate everybody, and we are all benefiting from that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Would you agree with
thank
that?
you. It's truly a privilege. It really is. It's so fun. I'm happy to help anyone that wants to improve their broadcasting. And it's just, I mean, not that I'm the end all be all, but again, it's fun. It's fun to be here and to be covering such an awesome sport filled with so many great people like you guys. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Webby, any other questions or anything else?
Really, I just want to issue a little bit of a challenge here as we part ways here. I noticed that you said you have roots in Michigan. I'm from Michigan. I currently live in Michigan. I heard you mention that you frequently spend time in Naples. Eddie is from Naples and lives in Naples. So what I'm thinking is next time you're in Michigan and next time you're in Naples, what if we do some singles matches? Eddie versus Michelle. Webby versus Michelle, and we can see like who is the best singles player of the three of us. What do you think?
Let's do it. I'm in. What do you think, Eddie?
I'm in. Let's, shoot,
you guys are probably going to kick my butt.
Oh no!
But,
I've seen you play. I don't think that's going to happen.
Singles is a different game.
It is a different game, and yes, but I've seen you play. So
I feel like
I will be the one working hard before that match.
Right. Yeah. So from this point on, I will be practicing my singles game, and the next time we're in the same place at the same time, we will do a singles match, see what happens, and we'll report the results.
We'll take that
to
challenge a step further. You have to commentate while you play, so we can live stream it for our audience.
Okay. Let's go mic'd up. I think it's perfect.
And
nice.
Michelle goes back to serve. She goes with the top spin drop against Webby.
I like it. That's awesome. Yeah, we got to do that. We've got to do that.
So
they cannot reel in her fire. She's too aggressive.
That's great. Love it. Cool. Thank you again so much, Michelle. Thank you again so much, Michelle, for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
And we hope to see you again when we compete against you in singles.
Yes, thank you. Right. And thanks to everyone who tuned in tonight. It was fun getting to chat with everybody. I appreciate it. It's so fun to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. You have a great night.
Okay. You too. Bye, guys.
Yep. All right. See ya. Man, what a fun night. That was a very cool episode. And like Yeah, Michelle is such a great person for the sport of
Mhm.
pickleball. I mean, I love what she's doing, and yeah, very fun night.
Yeah, I agree. And it's easy when you have a guest like her on to, I don't want to say like want to make them feel good and stuff like that, but I mean, I legitimately there has been an elevation in the commentary game since she's been around. I've been saying it for a long time. I think what Dom has been able to do to really make commentary, pickleball commentary, his career, he's been working at it. He's been making it a focus of his. He's been improving, and I feel like just on his own grit, he got to hear, and then they started partnering him and Michelle at a lot of the different events, and it was just like boom, it just went to the next level. And I think it's awesome to see what she's bringing to the sport, to be able to bring in what she's learned from other professional sports. It's kind of what we need, right? Like, we don't want to lose that fun backyard grassroots feel of pickleball, but we could use a little bit polishing up when it comes to certain things like broadcasting, like commentary, like interviews. People
Yeah.
don't want us out there doing that. They want professionals like Michelle, and that's why I'm just so grateful that she's been a part of it.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I feel like you hit the nail on the head. She's like the perfect combination of professionalism, but
Mhm.
having fun at the same time, like while being professional. Like it's just and I kind of jokingly said earlier that like what she was talking about earlier could be used as like a training material for anybody that wants to be a commentator. But I'm not kidding. Like what she said was spot on. Like if you take the advice that Michelle gave earlier in this episode, like that is the recipe for a very great broadcast and a very great like commentator and sports broadcaster.
I agree. And a lot of the things that she said don't do, I do all the time. And it's so annoying when I watch myself back. Right?
I was thinking the same thing. Like both you and I, like things that she said, like, yeah, don't do this, don't do that. We do both those things all the time, and it annoys the hell out of me when I watch myself and listen to myself.
That's why I'm much more comfortable on the other end of the production than being the face of it, because it really does take a talent. And also, it's like thinking of things to say, keeping it fresh, not repeating yourself, using this line and that line. Like, oh my God, it's enough to make your freaking head spin, and constantly scrutinized, constantly judged. You are the face and the voice of what's going on. Like, man, like when you and I do this live stream, like people can make comments all day long. I don't really care. Like whatever, it's not that big of a deal. We're on TV, or like we're in front of potentially millions of people over the course of who's going to be watching it live or after the fact. Like that's a lot of pressure. I don't think I could handle it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, and I was talking earlier about how I did the commentary for the Pickleball Night in America when it was in Grand Rapids, and I knew going into that, like, this could be, like, the biggest audience that ever tunes in to something that I'm doing live commentary for, and I felt like puking before we went live. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be horrible. Why did they ask me to do this?
Well, I went back and listened, Webby, and I got to say, I think you did a very good job. When you put you up with somebody who does great in that, I don't want to say that lead role, but kind of like that is very comfortable in doing it. I think you guys bounce off each other very well. And I think your broadcast experience, and obviously, going to school at Specs Howard, you also had some experience in radio. I think that comes through, and I do think you do a better job more than you give yourself credit for.
Oh, well, thank you. I do appreciate that. And I did have a great time. Like I would absolutely do it again if I was asked to do it again, which I don't think I will be. But if I was asked to do it again, I would definitely do it because it was fun. And like you said, if I have somebody with me to play off of, especially an expert like Lee Whitwell, and it's just like somebody there with me that has more expertise, and then I'm just there to kind of play off of that, I really like doing, and I had a great time doing that. So I would absolutely do that more often if the opportunity presented itself.
That's great. What a fun night. Anything coming up in the near future, Webby, that our thousands of viewers out there right now want to know about for you?
I don't know. My year is actually kind of winding down. I'm currently working on the recap. Like I've released a few videos from our Beer City Open experience. I'm going to do like one like total like overall recap because we had a whole bunch of really cool moments, and it kind of focuses more on the behind the scenes footage of us doing the live stream of this year's Beer City Open. I think that's going to be fun. I've got a very fun documentary in the works that I
cannot wait
recorded during the Beer
that.
City Open.
Yeah.
Should I tell people what to expect, or should we keep it secret? What do you think?
No,
Okay.
keep it a secret. Well, Webby, I hate when you dangle stuff in front of the audience. I hate it.
Yeah,
but
I know.
But I do think that since you brought it up, no, people have to wait to know about this documentary because I have a feeling it's gonna be pretty epic.
Yeah, a number of people know what I'm talking about, but while I was at the Beer City Open, I had what I consider a brilliant idea to do a documentary about a specific individual that was at the Beer City Open, and I cannot wait to work on that. I've always wanted to do a documentary, so this is going to be like a great passion project.
Oh, really?
I think it'll be, yes, really. And I think it's going to be very impactful. I think it's going to rock the pickleball world. It will be awesome. And yeah. But once again, though, the Beer City Open, like I feel like you and I didn't have quite as much fun as we usually do at the Beer City Open, but that's only because like we were trying to be professional the whole week because we were doing a lot of live streaming. And by we doing live streaming, you were doing a lot of live streaming and I was helping where I could. But it was still like every year the Beer City Open just gets bigger and better and more epic. And this year did not disappoint. It was amazing. And just the stuff that happened, our exhibition match, me and Irina Tereshchenko versus you and Georgia Johnson was pretty epic, especially the outcome. Couldn't have been any better. For those that don't know, Irina and I destroyed Eddie and Georgia. Go ahead and check out the Eddie and Webby YouTube channel to watch the match.
It's true. They did. They laid a smackdown to us. It's not Georgia's fault. It was my fault that we got destroyed. And Webby played lights out and was keeping everything in play. So yeah, that was just
I'm not gonna lie. I
hate watching that video because I hate it.
Yeah. And we did, I think I talked about it a little bit before, but we did a warm up before our match and I played like ass. Like I played so bad, so bad. I was embarrassed. Yeah. As Michelle McMahon would say, gaping ass. That's how I played. But I could tell Irina was not looking forward to playing with me after she saw how badly I did during our warm-ups. And my back was hurting too. So like it was not a good recipe for success. I hadn't played pickleball in 2 weeks. My back was hurting because I had tweaked it a few days before. And then the warm-up was worse than I ever expected the warm-up to be. So I was like, oh my God, we're about to play in front of hundreds of people. I'm teaming up with Irina. She's gonna hate me after this, and but luckily, like once the match started, like a switch got flipped, and I was on. Thankfully,
and that same switch flipped me off because if anybody watched us warm up, they would have been like, "Oh, Georgia and Eddie are gonna destroy them."
Right.
And
if you notice, yeah, and because I recorded our warm up, and if you notice, I didn't include any of that in there because it was so embarrassingly bad.
Next time, I'm the one who's gonna edit our video if you win like that, and so I'm gonna just highlight all of your screw ups.
Yeah, I included us talking about it, and then I don't know if you noticed the backhanded compliment that Irina gave me towards the end. She was like, she talked about how she didn't miss, and then she was like, Webby didn't miss, which surprised all of us.
Yep, very true. Yeah, you guys were on. She also insulted me for my work with my sports psychologist and said I had to fire her. But my sports psychologist is my wife, so I can't really hire her. But it did light a fire under her to actually work with me now. I'm sure I've talked about
Oh, man.
Yeah, I've talked about it before, but my wife does have her master's degree in sports psychology. And now it's on. Like, actually, we have a whole plan put together for ways that I can work through my... what do you call that? Like performance anxiety when you're faced with stuff like cameras on you and on the court with pros and people cheering for you and making every time you hit into the net, right? Dealing with that.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, that scares me because I always felt that you always had the upper hand against me when it comes to like the mental game when it comes to pickleball. So if you get help from your wife, I know that's really gonna up your game. And not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous for the next Eddie versus Webby match because of that fact.
You should be, because for some reason you thought it would be a good idea to not challenge me at the Beer City Open to the next Eddie versus Webby, but whatever. No big deal. I'm still waiting for those jean shorts. Have you found your pair yet?
I have not. I have jean shorts, but they're like the ones I used to wear in high school, so they're not like the super tight short shorts like you're hoping for.
No, they got to be tight. That was the rule. So for those of you guys that don't know, after the last Eddie versus Webby match, we added a rule where the loser gets to pick something that the winner has to do to kind of give them a little bit of an advantage. I use the term like a handicap, but I don't know. I don't mean it in an insulting way. I know that term is kind of being phased out a little bit. But to give me an advantage, and Webby, we're playing singles, full court singles, and Webby has to wear tight jean shorts for the match. And so then I will be the 8-time Eddie versus Webby champion after that.
Has it really been that? Would it be that much? I don't know about that.
Well, Eddie versus Webby 9 was our last one, right?
Oh yeah, I've won 2 out of 9. So yeah, you've won 7. Damn, I gotta close that gap.
Well, you're not gonna do it wearing jean shorts, friend.
We'll see.
Nobody has ever won a singles match wearing tight jorts. By the way, it's never happened.
Right? Like I really want to, just to embarrass the hell out of you. Like the fact, if you could lose to a guy wearing tight jean shorts, that would be embarrassing as hell.
That would be pretty bad. So anyway, fun night.
Before we go, very
ahead.
fun night. But before we go, I want to show one comment here from this is a very nice comment from Lynn Co. And Lynn says, Beer City tournament is better and better because of Eddie and Webby, with a bunch of clapping emojis. Great podcast this evening. Thank you very much, Lynn. Very much appreciated.
That's nice, Lynn. I appreciate that. Tanner Wallace followed up with, I'm excited to see the tight jeans. We will invite you to the match, Tanner, because it's likely going to be, I'm assuming it'll have to be up in Michigan, because it seems like you don't ever want to come down to Florida. So I got to go up there because you don't ever want to come down here. So it'll probably be.
No, I'll come, but it's got to be like in the winter months. I will not come down in the like spring through summer.
Yeah, you would have died today.
It
was like 95 and 95% humidity. It was nasty. So you would have definitely not enjoyed today. That's for sure.
Yeah. But yes, this was a very fun night of dinking around with Eddie and Webby. It was our first one in quite a while. Hopefully we can start doing these more frequently, because I love doing this show. We're not always going to have a guest, but we were very lucky to have Michelle join us tonight. That was very fun.
I agree. Always a good time. And yeah, it's the production can get a little rusty sometimes, because if you're not doing this consistently, you kind of forget what you're doing. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any ideas for stuff for us to talk about, guests to be able to bring on, topics to cover, beers to drink, products to review, anything. This format is loose, fluid, and we want to make it something that both Webby and I enjoy, but most importantly, you guys enjoy out there. So definitely let us know in the comments, or email us, or text us, or whatever the kids are doing these days. Can you?
That's right.
Can you TikTok us? Is that a thing?
Yeah, go ahead and send us a TikTok if that's what people do. Like, can you send people a TikTok? I don't know. Yeah, send us a TikTok of you saying whatever happens on TikTok. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, definitely reach out and let us know, because I do hope that Webby and I have more time in our schedule to where we can do this on a little bit more frequent of a basis. I don't know what else to say. Webby, do you have anything else you want to add?
I love my show.
I love my show. Okay, on that note, I'm Eddie.
And until next time, this is Webby, not Eddie, signing off.
See ya.